A man, having failed in high school, becomes a shut-in, spending his days playing games and watching movies. One day, his shut-in life takes a dramatic turn when he is transported to the realm of gods. There, a goddess informs him that he has been chosen to reincarnate into another world with superior magic. Despite this, he plans to continue his shut-in lifestyle. He awakens as newborn Prince Reinhardt, the son of King Jilk and Queen Giselot, the former heroine. Upon discovering his magic level is only 02 and that he can only use barrier magic, his embarrassed parents abandon him in a forest. Meanwhile, in the gods' realm, the goddess reveals that the measuring crystal only measures up to 2 digits. Reinhardt's true power level is actually 1002, on par with a god. In the forest, Reinhardt discovers the versatility of barrier magic, allowing him to fly and fight. He encounters a hungry wolf, and using his magic, he defeats it and makes it surrender. The wolf reveals itself as a Flame Fenrir named Flay. Mistaking him for a demon lord, and wanting to hide his royal lineage, Reinhardt impulsively claims he is demon lord Haruto and takes Flay as his familiar. As a baby, he soon runs out of mana and asks Flay for breast milk. Flay transforms into a beautiful young woman, whom he secretly develops a crush on, but cannot provide milk. Suddenly, they hear someone approaching. Count Gold Zenfis, a relative of King Jilk, arrives, disgusted by Jilk's actions. He tells Flay he has come to take Haruto and gives him some milk. His wife had also given birth, but their child did not survive. Deciding to secretly adopt Haruto as his son and Flay as his servant, Flay agrees to the terms. 9 years later, Haruto lives with Gold, his mother Natalia, and his sister Charlotte. Despite struggling with Charlotte, who appears not to like him, he plans to quietly run away one day. Gold starts teaching him the sword, but Haruto, having refined his mastery of barrier magic, is now a powerful fighter. Gold and Natalia worry that Haruto's strange abilities might mean he has a demon ancestor, which could also explain Flay's attachment to him. However, they are satisfied they have raised him as a good man. Days later, Gold returns from a failed raid on a bandit hideout, bringing back 100 injured men. He confides in Haruto that their lands have been under constant attack by bandits, and though he has been fighting them in secret, this time they were ambushed. Concerned for his adoptive father, Haruto secretly heals the injured soldiers. Later that night, he locates the whereabouts of the bandits and, along with Flay, leaves to massacre them in revenge. Charlotte, who had noticed their departure, accidentally sees them flying away. Haruto and Flay confront the bandits, discovering that they are soldiers from a neighboring empire sent to cause chaos in the kingdom with help from a treasonous, high-ranking kingdom official. Enraged, Haruto orders Flay to burn them all. The next day, he sends an anonymous letter to Gold containing all the information about the bandits. Due to the use of fire magic, Gold suspects Flay was involved in killing the invaders. Charlotte becomes suspicious of Haruto because of his intimidating aura, which is why she initially disliked him. She confronts Flay, who is impressed that Charlotte can perceive Haruto's aura. Charlotte asks about Haruto's true identity, but Flay keeps it a secret. Flay informs Haruto about Charlotte's suspicions, prompting him to place a security barrier around her. Charlotte starts following Haruto around for a few days. Eventually, Natalia takes Charlotte on a trip to a festival, but they are ambushed by Empire soldiers. Alerted by his security barrier, Haruto sends them psychic directions to escape to safety. While Charlotte hides in a cave, Natalia confronts the soldiers and is about to sacrifice herself to protect Charlotte. Just in time, Haruto flies to their rescue. Natalia passes out, but Charlotte, who recognizes Haruto by his aura, realizes it is him. She decides he must be a hero despite his aura and promises to keep his secret. Later, Gold becomes suspicious of the anonymous person performing good deeds, especially when Charlotte starts being nice to Haruto. Despite his curiosity, he resigns himself to never knowing the whole truth, satisfied that they are all safe and taken care of. Charlotte becomes obsessively attached to Haruto, discovering his surveillance barrier and his interest in ancient magic, which he believes is related to his barrier magic. Intrigued, She shows him books on ancient magic in the family library. Haruto, in turn, introduces her to anime, sparking her desperate desire to watch it. 2 weeks later, Haruto invents a barrier that connects to Japan's internet, allowing him to show her anime. This requires teaching her Japanese, which she mastered in 2 weeks. However, her newfound obsession with anime leads Haruto to limit her to 3 hours a day. One day, Charlotte joins Haruto in the bath and sees his royal crest birthmark, mistaking it for a hero insignia. Later, when Gold leaves to deal with common bandits, Charlotte becomes worried and demands Haruto transform into his hero form to help Gold. This inspires Haruto to utilize a barrier disguise to appear as a masked adult. After capturing the bandits, he introduces himself to Gold as Black Knight and takes credit for all of Haruto's anonymous deeds. After years of work, Haruto finally produces a barrier clone of himself that can replace him when necessary. Their home is visited by Prince Laius and Princess Marianne, whom Haruto realizes must be his younger siblings born after he was abandoned. Laius, arrogant and bullying, challenges Haruto to a duel, thinking him weak due to his supposed level 2 status. In the duel, Haruto pretends to be weak, letting Laius do as he likes until the prince demands Haruto fight back. When Haruto finally retaliates, he easily defeats and humiliates Laius. In a last-ditch effort, Laius throws a fire spell at Haruto, but it is absorbed by his barrier. Haruto then decides to return the fire spell all at once, making Laius admit defeat. Meanwhile, Marianne, more polite and intelligent than her brother, cannot believe Haruto only registers as level 2. She begins to suspect there is much more to Haruto than meets the eye, setting the stage for future revelations and challenges. Charlotte becomes more involved in monitoring the territory through Haruto's barrier, insisting that Haruto take care of all the thieves. Flay also expresses her desire to join him, and Charlotte insists that a hero needs a partner to help. Haruto agrees, and with Flay's assistance, they defeat and capture all the thieves while Charlotte watches them on screen. Meanwhile, Laius remains bitter over his defeat. His servant suggests he spend time getting to know Charlotte during his tour of the kingdom. This makes Haruto suspicious. That night, Haruto confronts a group of mages who are up to something nefarious. The mages summon an army of skeleton soldiers, but Haruto easily defeats them and takes control of the skeletons. They then summon a huge golem, but Haruto defeats it as well and takes control, ordering it to attack and capture the mages. The mage leader admits they were sent by Queen Gizelot to assassinate Charlotte, who has the magical potential to surpass the queen's own power. Haruto realizes the queen, his birth mother Gizelot, must be evil. From personal experience, he knows she is willing to kill children if it serves her purpose. He swears to keep Charlotte safe, even if he has to assassinate Gizelot. Later, Haruto, along with Prince Laius, Princess Marianne, and others, go sightseeing. Haruto asks Gold about the queen and learns from Gold that Gizelot was an adventurer before she killed the demon lord and married King Jilk. However, in her quest for power, she has overthrown Jilk and now rules alone. Gold explains that her death would cause civil war as nobles fought for the throne. He hopes Charlotte might one day be powerful enough to overthrow Gizelot and replace her as a benevolent queen. To this end, he enlists Haruto's help in protecting Charlotte until she grows up. Haruto agrees, though privately he desires his own revenge on Gizelot and begins planning to kill her himself. A knight informs Queen Gizelot about their failed mission to assassinate Char, and also mentions that their men were defeated by a mysterious Black Knight. Enraged and excited by the prospect of a worthy opponent, the queen, ready to confront this Black Knight with her holy sword, dismisses her useless subordinates. Haruto, disguised as a Black Knight, successfully infiltrates Gizelot's castle. He easily knocks out all the knights guarding her. Gizelot, confident in her powers as a hero, unleashes powerful attacks but is defeated with ease. Haruto fits her with a slave collar, allowing her to remain queen but warning that any attempt to remove the collar or harm Char will result in the collar severing her head. Humiliated and powerless, Gizelot is forced to comply. 5 years later, there have been no further assassination attempts, and Char is growing up happily. Gold informs Haruto that Gizelot has become a recluse, and there are rumors that someone has made her a slave. Haruto decides he can finally become a shut-in again. Unfortunately, Gold reveals that Haruto must attend the Magic Academy by the end of spring, destroying his hopes of a reclusive life. Haruto objects, but Gold insists he must attend the Magic Academy in the capital for 3 years, as former King Jilk has sponsored his attendance with the unspoken instruction to make friends with Marianne and Laius. Gold also tells Haruto that he needs to find an attendant to accompany him in the capital. Natalia volunteers but is instantly rejected. Still pining for his shut-in life, Haruto decides to send his barrier clone that can't use magic, hoping its lack of ability will lead to a justified expulsion that won't upset Jilk or Gold. Meanwhile, he retreats to his secret mountain cabin, hoping for at least 3 years of total isolation, except for when Flay brings Char to watch anime. To facilitate quick returns home, Haruto manages to create a teleportation barrier but has never tested it on living beings. Flay suggests testing it on his clone, but the clone, aware of his intentions, refuses to enter while making fun of them. Frustrated, Flay jumps into the barrier and drags the clone in, proving the success of the barrier. Haruto connects it to home to make trips easier and to communicate with his clone in the capital. As Haruto plays games in his secret house, he abruptly remembers he was supposed to find a new attendant to follow him to the academy and leaves the house in a hurry. While walking, he visits a secret village in the mountains populated by the skeleton army of the mages Gizelot, sent to assassinate Char. After 5 years, the skeletons have developed personalities and consider Haruto their savior. Their chief, Johnny, reveals that with Flay's help, they have begun taking in other monsters with nowhere else to live, and the village has grown into a thriving farming community. Haruto considers taking Johnny as his attendant but becomes bored by Johnny's continuous talking. He also meets Gigan, a golem who turns out to be a shy young female. Unfortunately, Haruto doesn't find a suitable attendant among them. Later, Char suggests the name Shiva for Haruto's Black Knight form. Char and Flay also visit the monster village, and Char names it Pandemonium. Meanwhile, a blizzard dragon is being attacked and pushed from its home by Imperial mercenaries. Gold worries it might invade the kingdom and asks Haruto to send Flay to deal with it, but she refuses, revealing that 300 years ago, during the war with the humans, the dragon did not come to help. However, Char requests her to save the dragon, and Haruto and Flay go to find it injured just inside the Empire's border. Before the mercenaries can attack, Haruto and Flay arrive and defeat them. Haruto heals the dragon, who is confused about why a demon is following a human. Flay tells the whole story. They also learn the dragon is a bookworm and fellow shut-in who has lived in complete isolation for 300 years, except for occasionally visiting cities disguised as a young girl to acquire books. As the mercenaries have burned her home and books, Haruto invites her to live in Pandemonium. She accepts Haruto as her master and is given the name Liz. Liza begins working as a maid alongside Flay, who is tasked with teaching her the ropes. However, Flay is quickly perturbed as Liza demonstrates an uncanny ability to perform her duties perfectly, despite having no prior training. Liza quickly becomes Char's personal maid and magic instructor. Haruto, impressed by Liza's work, is tempted to make her his attendant but can't bring himself to take her away from Char. Later, Haruto informs Char that he will be attending the academy starting next week. Char gathers her round table knights, Flay, Liza, Johnny, and Gigan, to plan how to protect Haruto. Her understanding of schools, influenced by watching anime, is that there will be a secret evil council, supported by a corrupt noble who will become Haruto's enemy. Johnny and Gigan are left to expand Pandemonium's army while Char, Flay, and Liza preemptively investigate the evil council. They decide to keep this secret from Haruto. However, Liza, loyal to Haruto, informs him about Char's plans. Haruto decides to play along as a means to make Liza his attendant without upsetting Char. He is certain that once he is expelled, Char will naturally abandon her plan anyway. Haruto prepares to leave for the capital, feeling a mix of excitement and reluctance. Flay, however, is upset that Haruto didn't take her with him. In the royal capital, Marion tells Laius that Haruto has left for the Magic Academy. Laius, hoping for a rematch with Haruto to showcase his improved skills after his previous defeat, has been continuously training. It's also revealed that Marion now holds a crush on Haruto. They discuss the rumors of the cultists of the Lucifer Church, who are spreading their aims to overthrow the monarchy. Laius has become scared of Gizelot, believing she is using the cult to get rid of Jilk permanently. Marion hopes Haruto can do something, while Laius prefers to seek out the Black Knight. Gizelot overhears this conversation, attacks Marianne, and orders Laius to become Haruto's friend to discover the Black Knight's identity. Laius feels guilty, fearing he might have unintentionally put Haruto in danger. At the mountain cabin, Char informs Haruto it's time to visit the capital. Haruto, who had returned to his mountain cabin right after he left for the capital because he already installed a teleport barrier ahead, reluctantly agrees. Upon arriving in the capital, Haruto sees a wagon being attacked and saves the travelers from a monster as the Black Knight, attracting the attention of one of them, a red-eyed woman named Irisfilia, who gives Liza a strange feeling. Haruto registers with his fellow students, whom he doesn't fit in with at all, then teleports back to his mountain cabin to recover. Unfortunately, Char insists they go right back to the city to try a restaurant. Char reveals her motive to visit capital to investigate about evil cult. She tells Liza and Flay to look separately while she goes with Haruto. As Char and Haruto roam around the capital, they encounter Irisfilia again, who almost recognizes Haruto as a Black Knight from the feel of his magic power. Haruto feels she is mocking him as he still believes his magic level is 02. After she leaves, Char also claims Irisfilia felt strange, reinforcing Haruto's suspicion that there's more to Irisfilia than meets the eye. Haruto C informs Haruto that they must pass an exam before the entrance ceremony. So Haruto plans to fail and be expelled. After completing his written test, he meets ancient magic researcher Dr. Luginal, who measures his magic. The crystal sensor explodes. Haruto thinks she would be angry and expel him immediately, but she is impressed and correctly deduces Haruto has so much magic the crystal couldn't handle it. She approves his acceptance and appoints herself his advisor, but he refuses, believing she is mocking his low magic level. Back at the mountain cabin, Haruto C is tasked with attending the entrance ceremony instead of Haruto. As Haruto C has no magic, Haruto gives him a shield barrier and a magic pistol. At the academy, Haruto C encounters Irisfilia and student vice president Schneider, who tries to bully them both. Schneider attacks Haruto C, but the barrier protects him. Haruto C tries to act as though he got injured, which Schneider interprets as mockery. Schneider attacks Haruto C with more powerful magic, but in a panic, Haruto uses his pistol, injuring Schneider. Haruto C is so stressed that Haruto replaces him and is immediately challenged to a duel by Schneider. That night, via his security barriers, he watches Irisfilia apologize to Schneider, who agrees to cancel the duel if she dances naked. Just as she begins to strip, Haruto, exasperated, saves her as the Black Knight and yells at her for being such a naive airhead. He also places a barrier on Schneider's bullet wound as punishment, warning it will tighten and cause pain if he uses magic or tries to remove the barrier. The barrier will last until he atones for his dishonorable behavior. Schneider swears revenge on Black Knight. After the incident, everyone starts talking about Haruto, and Luginal continuously insists he join her research club. She explains that first years must choose either night classes to learn combat or research classes to invent new spells. Laius and Marion interrupt as they want Haruto to join their classes. They start arguing over who Haruto should choose until Irisfilia shows up. Haruto is grateful when Irisfilia appears, using the excuse to avoid choosing a class. Irisfilia is instinctively aware there are two Harutos, as well as his barrier, causing Haruto to suspect she is a demon. She asks Haruto to be her first friend, explaining she kept being abandoned by foster families, so she is terrible at communicating. Haruto is compelled to agree and joins her ancient magic research class, which unfortunately is also Luginal's class. Elsewhere, Flay, while taking a bath with Liza and Char, reminisces about the previous demon lord, a kind man who sought peace with humans until Gizelot killed him. Flay believes he reincarnated as Haruto, but in fact, he reincarnated as Iris Philia, whom Haruto nicknames Iris. Char teleports to the academy and is happy Haruto has begun assembling a harem of wives, as long as she marries him too one day. Iris is baffled by Char's bizarre claims, as well as Haruto letting Char pick his other classes since, according to Char, he has already mastered magic and there is nothing left the academy could possibly teach him. Haruto promises to help Iris work hard, but privately still plans to be expelled. Haruto finally begins attending classes in the C classroom for average students, while Iris attends the advanced classroom. The C class is given another exam, and Haruto deliberately scores 60%, not realizing the easy questions were actually quite advanced. A score of 60% is unbelievably high for a C student, so he is promoted to the A classroom with Iris and Laius. In the A class, Professor Belcam discusses the difficulties of accurately measuring magic levels, explaining that crystal sensors can only give a general estimate. Haruto makes a thoughtless observation about hidden magic effects that crystals can't sense, a cutting-edge theory only the anonymous genius Weissyul has ever proposed before. Belcam becomes convinced Haruto is a genius, maybe even Weissyul himself. Since Weissyul is Japanese for white owl, Haruto realizes it must be Char. Exhausted, Haruto switches with Haruto C, who attends Luzhnal's research lab and finds her experimenting on Schneider. She determines that the barrier placed on Schneider is definitely ancient magic from the mythical era that can only be used by someone level 80 or higher. Luzhnal, intrigued by Haruto C's answer, correctly deduces Haruto is behind it. Sensing his shock, Haruto appears as a black knight to alleviate her suspicions, pretending he is following up on Schneider's punishment. Luzhnal attempts to capture him to interrogate him on ancient magic, but he immobilizes her instead until she agrees to his terms. He then escapes and threatens her into stopping her investigation. Luzhnal throws a welcome party at her mansion where Iris becomes drunk and passes out in Haruto C's lap. During the party, Luzhnal reveals that Iris is studying ancient magic because she possesses all 6 magic elements. Unfortunately, her magic level is only 0.5, so she hopes ancient magic might increase it. Meanwhile, Schneider, having plotted with the Lucifer Church to marry his father to Gizelot and become the new prince and heir to the throne, fears his plans are at risk. He sends assassins to kill Haruto C, Iris, and Luzhnal. Haruto overhears Schneider through a CCTV barrier he set up. When the assassins attack the mansion, they find an invisible barrier protecting it, leaving everyone inside sleeping peacefully. Haruto arrives as the Black Knight and easily defeats and captures the assassins, interrogating them for information. He then visits Schneider to punish him further, showing him evidence of his plot through the CCTV barrier. In a desperate move, Schneider injects himself with a potion, turning into a giant monster. Haruto fights Schneider and decides to kill him, but Char intervenes, requesting that he not kill Schneider. With Char's advice, Haruto turns Schneider back to normal without killing him, leaving him mentally disturbed. Haruto then visits Haruto C and they realize Haruto C is getting used to being around people and is actually starting to enjoy it. Char shares CCTV footage of Haruto's fight with her round table, using it as certain proof of a secret evil council targeting Haruto. Renaming themselves the Camelot Kingdom, Char decides to infiltrate the academy to find the council members. Watching Char's antics, Haruto can't deny there is some sort of group Schneider was involved with. He lets Char do as she likes but keeps a secret watch on her in case she gets herself in danger.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, take care.